That's one of the things that makes language learning fun. There are people out there who are gonna always know more than you do if you're learning a second language.
Tú lo dijiste. Tú lo dijiste.
La comunicación es lo más importante, es lo que construye puentes de lugares divididos, y si lo más comunicación que podemos tener, más bonita sociedad y mundo vamos a tener.
I think one of the difficulties you had asked me before is idioms and jokes and things that you can't necessarily translate exactly because the literal translation would make no sense.
I've heard that.
The way I see it, I was born in Mexico, and I don't ever want to forget my culture. But at the same time, I also understand that my family came here for a reason. It's also about being grateful for where we live.
Sí se puede.
Okay.
Sí se puede.
I've always liked the fact that I can speak both languages, and I wish I could actually know more, because every single language is a complete world.
If you want to speak Spanish, I'm putting Hispanic channels. You don't going to understand anything. You're gonna be like, with the time, you will going to learn.
Not one language on this planet is actually hard. Put your mind into it, practice, get the right help, get the right resources.
Mi nombre es Gabriel Mejía. Yo soy de México, Distrito Federal. En México yo jugué fútbol profesional para Cruz Azul. Después de que se terminó el fútbol, decidí venir a este país hace 14 años. Llegué a este lugar que se llama Immokalee. Como tú conoces, es una comunidad. La mayoría de las personas trabajan en el campo. Empecé a trabajar en la construcción en Naples, 45 minutos de aquí. Yo iba a trabajar y cuando regresaba a las 5 de la tarde que llegaba, comía e iba a la escuela a estudiar inglés en las noches, de 6 a 9. Y esa era parte de mi vida durante 3 años. Y es la forma en que yo aprendí el idioma del inglés, que a la vez viene siendo algo muy importante porque te da la oportunidad de poder comunicarte con otras personas, de poder mejores trabajos, de poder desarrollarte y sentirte que eres parte de una comunidad, de un país. Principal es el español. Por lógica eso lo aprendí a través de mis padres en la escuela. Cuando vine aquí a Estados Unidos aprendí el inglés. Naturalmente el español es algo que yo sé desde que nací, y el saber que es importante aprender hablando español. Claro que el inglés es importante porque para que puedas comunicarte con otras personas que no hablan español, tú puedes comunicarte con el inglés. Pero yo, si tú hablas español, yo voy a hablar español. Aunque tú hables español e inglés, yo voy a hablar español. Y así con cualquier otra persona. Pero lo principal es hablar español para mí, porque es con lo que yo crecí, con lo que yo...
My name is Julia Perkins, and I'm originally from a little town in the mountains called Hendersonville, from North Carolina, which is a ways away from Immokalee, but not completely separate, because it's migrant workers here in Immokalee go during the summertime. So this time of year, in July, is when they're up in my hometown. I was an American Studies and Spanish major, UNC Chapel Hill in North Carolina. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. Work essentially brought me here. I was a health educator with farm workers for a while. And I would move up and down the East Coast following them as they went from place to place. And anytime I asked someone where they were from, they would say Immokalee. I didn't know anything about Immokalee at that point.
What point was that?
Late 90s. I wanted to learn more about what was going on in this community and what made it different. Eventually, the organization that I was working with to send me down here to work out of the health clinic, I'd already at that point met the Coalition of Immokalee Workers, which is an amazing group of workers who came together in the early 90s to try to really stand up against the abuses that people had faced for so long. Started to volunteer with them as I was doing my health work, and the rest is history. So that was in 2000, so I've been here for about 15 years. I started out speaking English. My mom and dad are from New England, but we came to the South, to North Carolina when I was tiny. I've always been interested in kind of the differences in language, accents and dialects, and then some of our word choices are different than those of my parents. So that's kind of an interesting way that language changes as you find yourself in different environments.
My name's Katie Momini, and I'm originally from Ohio, Toledo to be exact. I've been here in Immokalee for about 8 years now. I originally came down as a volunteer with the Humility of Mary program. I went to Ohio Northern University and I studied psychology and sociology. If you know anything about psychology and sociology majors, you have to go on to graduate school in order to practice. At that point in time, I wasn't sure what I wanted to go into. So I decided I would take a year off and do a volunteer program connected with the AmeriCorps. So within a couple of weeks' time from applying, I was ready to go and coming down to Immokalee. It was that fast. I didn't know a whole lot about it, but I knew that I was really excited to be in a community that was very diverse and different where I'm from. And about halfway through my first year, I realized I love Immokalee and I'm not going anywhere. I'm not done learning, I'm not done giving. I stayed a second year, which was wonderful because it was one of the first times that volunteers were able to stay a second year. It changed a little bit some of the things I was doing. I began working a little bit more with the Coalition of Immokalee Workers, Interfaith Action. I owe a lot to the coalition and staff who I worked with. 3/4 the way through, halfway through my second year, I realized I am not done here. I love it. As a sociology major, Immokalee is incredibly interesting because you have this mix of variety of cultures, a variety of people. Teach English part-time through the county. I did that for 2 years. I was fortunate enough to have, there was a full-time position opening at iTech, teaching English to speakers of other languages, adults. And this was 5 years ago. I am a native English speaker. Both of my parents and all of my family really, as I was growing up, spoke only English. When I went to high school, I was required to take a language class. At that point in time, I lived in a predominantly white English-speaking community. I remember literally saying, well, we're closer to Mexico than we are to France, so I'll study Spanish. I remember thinking, why do I need to learn this language? I'm never gonna use it in my life. I decided I probably should have paid more attention in those Spanish classes because as I look around me, the majority of people speak Spanish. Which is great because that's something that I wanted to get out of my experience. Learn another language, have the opportunity to live in a different culture with just people with different values and different way of life.
The first week I was eating hamburger, hot dogs, things that I never really ate when I was in Haiti. I used the restroom a lot. My next challenge was the language barrier I faced when I started high school. It was very challenging. I was so eager to understand what she's trying to say, but the fact that I didn't speak English, I couldn't respond to what she was saying. Since Haiti was actually colonized by the French back in the days, the time that the French were in Haiti, it was not sufficient for the whole population to get adapted to the French language. At my school personally, where I had to take only Creole, English, Spanish, and French. Whenever kids are finished with their secondary school, they tend to send them to other countries to go to college, to go to university in a different country, so that they encourage you to learn how to speak Spanish or learn how to speak English. And how did I come about from not speaking the language now to speak the language? Practicing is a matter of getting the help. My main help for learning the English language was my siblings. One of my brothers was born here in America. My sister came here before me, so they were the people that I was with for most of my time. Encouraged me to actually speak English. If I respond incorrectly, actually they corrected me. Another big one was my television, because I put the captions on and everything when they're speaking, if there's a word I don't know, I just have my dictionary ready. and I just learned it right there and then. And I was on Rosetta Stone for about, I would say, 6 months. It helped me not only speaking the language, but the proper way of pronouncing the language too, trying to like get closer to the American English accent. 2 years after, when I came from Haiti and I was able to communicate in English, I was able to do my homework and I was able to get good grades in my classes.
I had a sister that she's living here, and when I came here, I came to live in her house. I never know that I want to come to USA, and I didn't know English. And I knew that was really hard being in another country, not knowing the language. After I was speaking better English in construction, I started getting better jobs because I could communicate with the people. A guy that when you listen to me and you can say, oh, that guy is Hispanic or is American. If you want to speak Spanish, I'm putting Hispanic channels. You don't going to understand anything. You're gonna be like, with the time, you will going to learn, because your brain need to get to the adaptation to the new language. I remember when I was in school, the first 4 months, I was feeling that I was not learning anything. I was just going to the school, I'm not learning. I get some what they were talking, and that was helped me to say, oh yeah, this is working, and I keep going to the school and keep going to the school. But you will see with the time. When I was learning English, when I go to places and people see me as Hispanic and they feel that I cannot speak English, and when I start speaking English, it's like, wow. One way my family can feel proud for what I'm doing.
I went on an exchange junior year. I went to live in Ecuador. Quite an awakening, let's just say, because I lived with a family who didn't speak any English. When I first got there, they picked me up at the airport and they'd prepared a small gathering with some of their family members and friends and people for me, and the same when I was leaving, a little party for me. And so at the final party, they said, Julia, it's the funniest thing. When you first came, you didn't know anything. I was there, I was really happy, I was speaking Spanish, I thought I understood what was being asked of me, but they said, but no. We were asking you things like, how many brothers and sisters do you have? And I would say, sí. What do you like to eat? Yes. What are your interests? No. I answered everything with yes or no, thinking that I knew what was going on, but obviously I had no clue. So language learning is you have to put yourself in a situation where you have to learn. I think it's really hard if you're just sitting around studying or practicing with people. What are you going to lose if you can't figure out how to express yourself? You get over all of those things in your head and you just have to figure out, how can I make them understand what they need to understand, and can I get the information from what somebody's telling me that I need?
Mi familia completamente me apoyan. Hasta que mi mamá también está aprendiendo un poquito sus números, gracias, adiós, buenos días. Mi abuela también siempre dice, see you mañana. Entonces es muy bonito de ver que mi familia también, aunque no hablan, todavía me apoyan. Uno de mis metas para mi aprendizaje de español, claro, es siempre mejorar. Siento que tengo mucha práctica hablando, pero lo que no tengo tanta práctica es en escribir. Entonces eso sería donde creo que puedo mejorarme. También estoy enfocando en aprender otros idiomas y quiero poder transferir los talentos o los skills que he aprendido de español para aplicarlos para poder aprender otros idiomas y seguir expandiendo mi aprendizaje de idiomas en general. As I spent more time here in the community, I began to study in my house a lot less because I realized that wasn't what I needed. What I needed was real immersion, just diving in. It was really easy because most of the people in the community and the places that I was working at spoke Spanish. So I had a lot of opportunities to practice and to learn. I already understood the grammar and the syntax and the setup of how language works. I saw the importance, and I knew that I wanted to have a real deep relationships in this community, and especially if I knew I was going to be here for longer. More I was able to practice, I was able to use it, I was able to perfect it. Once I got started, I just kept pushing at it. Learning anything new, never going to be easy. You have to work at it. The struggles that I had was I felt like I want to know more right now. And I think I still kind of struggle with this a little bit. I have a college degree, but I feel like the Spanish that I speak isn't up to par with the knowledge that I have in English. There's always more for me to learn. It's always going to be a process. As a teacher, I can give you lots of suggestions on the best things that you should do in order to learn a language, because that's what I tell my students 5 days a week, 2 nights a week. I think there's a lot of different ways that you can learn a language.
Tenía un amigo que decidimos ir a la escuela. Cuando fuimos el primer día nos hicieron el examen y me mandaron al primer grado. Está bien. Al día siguiente, cuando pasé a su casa para que fuéramos a la escuela, me dice, no, yo no quiero ir. Y me dice, quédate aquí, vamos a jugar fútbol. Y yo le dije, no, yo voy a estudiar. 5 años después que nos encontramos, él no hablaba inglés. Y cuando él supo y vio que yo hablaba inglés, él me dice, ¿y cómo aprendiste? ¿Tú decidiste no ir a la escuela y quedarte a jugar? Y yo me fui a estudiar. Todo eso es lo que me dio. Entonces, por eso siempre digo, tú quieres algo, tienes que trabajar por ello y luchar. Una de mis frases que podría ser en español es, si tú quieres algo, lucha por él. Sí se puede.
¿Qué?
Sí se puede. Ponerlo aquí en tu cabeza y trabajar por ello. Nada es imposible. Como yo quise aprender inglés, lo pude hacer. A base de trabajo, esfuerzo y sacrificio. Whoever have the opportunity to speak or learn different language, just do it. And everything is about what you want. If you really want to do something, you will going to get it. It's like, sí se puede. ¡Terminamos!
Terminamos.
It's like, we finish.
Y eso para mí fue una de las lecciones más importantes que aprendí. Tenía que esforzarme, intentar en la mejor forma, intentar varias veces, no tener miedo de equivocarme, no pensar que, ay, no sé exactamente qué es esa palabra o pronunciarlo 100% correcto o saber cómo se juntan esas palabras exactamente en la forma más correcta gramáticamente. Intentar hacer que la persona que estás enfrente de ti te entienda. Gabby and I tend to speak more Spanish around the house to each other. In the office, colleagues are probably 80% Spanish speaking. We want our child to be able to speak Spanish fluently and English fluently and perhaps other languages too. It's really sad to see kids whose parents speak Spanish not being able to speak and communicate with them in the same way that they should. That's one of the things that makes language learning fun. There are people out there who are gonna always know more than you do if you're learning a second language. And it doesn't matter where they come from. It doesn't matter how much education they have. Know that it's step by step, and it's never gonna be that all of a sudden you're saying complete perfect sentences with, we require it in the pieces that we need, putting them together to be able to communicate, and we just get better and better every day.
Yo creo que la mejor manera de aprender una nueva idioma es inmersión completamente. Hay veces es un poco difícil para uno que vive aquí en los Estados Unidos, pero uno tiene que buscar todas las opciones, las oportunidades, las situaciones, los lugares, las personas con quien se puede hablar. Porque lo que yo he visto, si estoy con alguien y también hablan inglés, claro, me sale más fácil. Voy a hablar en inglés con esa persona. Pero cuando yo encuentro a alguien que no habla en inglés y solo habla español, yo a mí misma tengo que forzarme para mejorar, para poder expresarme. Entonces creo que estando alrededor de español lo más que uno puede, la manera más mejor para aprender. What are you trying to say?
Diha, like you said it.
Tú lo dijiste.
To load.
Tú
To
lo
lo
dijiste.
dijiste.
The past tense of you say.
You know, you go to somebody or you go to their profession and all of a sudden they have to keep on calling in to help understand what you said. It kind of ruins it and it kind of makes you feel a little bit uneasy because you're like, I hope this person's doing it right. Like I said, if you were to go to a doctor and all of a sudden he would have to call in an assistant to like say, what did he say? I don't understand. All of a sudden you would feel a little bit different about the kind of treatment you might be getting soon. My father and my mother, I speak only Spanish with them. If someone to speak with them in English, they'll understand. You know, since they're business owners, they understood how crucial that was. Their primary language is Spanish, so I speak to them in Spanish. Now my brothers and sisters, it's primarily English for them. For Thanksgiving, if we were all at the table, we'll be speaking Spanish. The way I see it, I was born in Mexico. And I don't ever want to forget my culture, but at the same time, I also understand that my family came here for a reason. It's also about being grateful for where we live. Whenever I was in school, they've always taught us to embrace our culture, our nationality here. If you're trying to learn a new language and they are speaking it, they will help you. I've seen it myself. I know people that are trying to learn Spanish, and they're with Spanish-speaking people and nurturing things. People are happy that you're trying to learn their language.
They're all cool with the idea of going back to Haiti and help and support and stuff like that. I mean, of course, I have to be in the United States to work and save money, create organization, network, so that I can get help. Because only me cannot just go to Haiti and build a clinic and have all the medications. And since Haiti is an underdeveloped country, then again, help will always be needed. I think learning English is a process, and yet I'm still in the process of. I already know Creole, and it's already like right there in my brain. I know the basics of English. I took many courses in college that actually teach me how to write proper English and fixing my diction, word choice. One of my favorite part of speaking English, which is greeting people. Not one language on this planet is actually hard. Put your mind into it, practice, get the right help, get the right resources. And there's always resources available.
Even when I was, translating for people and thinking that I knew, I made some really funny mistakes. Here's an example. This is a fun story. Entonces les puedo dar un ejemplo de que a veces uno va a equivocarse. Aunque ya tienes años hablando un idioma, yo estaba trabajando en la salud y tenía que llevar a un señor al hospital. Y él tenía mucho miedo, estaba bien grave el señor. Tenía mucho miedo al hospital y en el camino yo estaba tratando de hacerle sentir más cómodo con todo el proceso. Entonces yo, como con una sonrisa, le digo, mira, señor, nada más vamos a llegar, te van a enterrar, no te preocupes. Allá te va a atender las enfermeras y te va a enterrar y todo va a salir bien. Yo en algunos días te voy a visitar. Y él, viéndome raramente, y él dice, ¿me van a enterrar? Sí, obviamente, vas al hospital y te van a enterrar, no te preocupes. La palabra que quería usar era internar, no enterrar. Pero en todo el camino íbamos, él estaba como, ¿qué me van a enterrar? No puede ser. Y yo como pensando, pero ¿por qué tiene tanto miedo de estar en el hospital? Como de internarse en el hospital. Pero eventualmente él dice, ¿no quieres decirme internar? Y yo dije, sí es cierto. Y nos reíamos. Pero tanto tiempo que yo lo había espantado diciendo que lo iban a enterrar, pobrecito. Así puede pasar cuando uno está aprendiendo, pero es importante como estar abierto a aprender nuevas palabras y saber que uno a veces se equivoca, pero si tienes gente alrededor de ti que te puede ya ponerte en el buen camino cuando has caído del camino. Últimos comentarios es de nuevo como no tener miedo. Cuando está aprendiendo algo nuevo, no hay miedo que no va a salir perfecto. porque eso es, la comunicación es lo más importante, es lo que construye puentes de lugares divididos, y si lo más comunicación que podemos tener, más bonita sociedad y mundo vamos a tener. Y la comunicación entre gente que hablan de diferentes idiomas, eso es algo que pues va a ayudar a hacer el mundo mejor. Hasta luego. Peace.
Story time! All right, children, sit down. I feel really comfortable in my Spanish after 8 years to continue in my pursuit of learning languages. This past school year, I started working on learning Creole. Learning Creole was very different for me. After kind of studying on my own, learning some of the basics, I realized practice what you preach. I needed to find an opportunity to do full-on immersion. During this past summer, I was able to go to Haiti and spend about 5 weeks learning about the culture and the language. The entire experience of being there was wonderful. I stayed with a family for 4 weeks, and I was with one of my friends for another week. Describe Haitians are just incredibly friendly, helpful. People appreciate that you're trying, and you appreciate their culture, that you want to learn about it. And I felt the same way when I was learning Spanish here in Immokalee. People were just excited and that you care enough to try. I think one of the difficulties you had asked me before is idioms and jokes and things that you can't necessarily translate exactly, because the literal translation would make no sense.
I've heard that.
Para mí, para poder aprender español, y ahora estoy aprendiendo creole haitiano, ha sido experiencias muy grandes. No solamente estoy aprendiendo un idioma, no solamente son palabras y cómo se forman y dónde se pone la coma. No, en cambio es algo mucho más grande. No solamente son palabras, como dije, es una cultura, es una persona, es otra manera de vivir. Porque juntos con un idioma puedes conocer mucha más gente. Puedes viajar a otros lugares. Puedes tener nuevas amistades. Para mí eso vale mucho más de solamente unas palabras que están escritas en un papel. Gracias. Hasta luego. Adiós. Au revoir. That's all I got.
Yeah.
She pretty much wanted that to be my primary language because she felt it would be easier for me in the future living here in the United States to learn English as the primary language, and then Spanish would come second. My preference is always English. At work, I would say I learned them at the same time because I would only speak Spanish, with my family. I would say I learned them at the same. I speak Spanish a lot at work. Since my clients are mostly Hispanic customers, when I'm out of work, it's English, or if I'm speaking with my family, then it's Spanish as well. I'm glad that I know the two languages. You build a bond way quicker with somebody that spoke to you in their native language and you replied back. I've always liked the fact that I can speak both languages, and I wish I could actually know more, because every single language is a complete world. How is it like to speak both languages? I was speaking English with somebody that came by, and then go back to speaking Spanish, and they said, how is it like to speak both? And I said, it's good, and I recommend that it literally is like another door that's open.